So the sentence should be coming in. Got So Lonnie, for instance, you did not say objective overview. And you needed to. Yeah, I gave you a list of words you had to use, and many of you are just blatantly ignoring my list. You have to use them. If you don't use them, you are not capturing, you're A, not responding to the prompt, B, not capturing what we're going to discuss in the paragraph, and that is not acceptable. They also need to be in the order. And you can't punctuate it as though it's one sentence when really you have multiple different, yeah, you've got to be grammatically correct. It can't be a run-on sentence. This is a hard sentence. If I am now shooting everyone who's sent them, they don't work. You need to fix it and try again. Use all words in the list, the sentence structure I gave you, and go in the appropriate order. Many of you are wanting to use style as the subject of the sentence, which seems like it's not working for you. Remember, maybe partly that's not working for you. You want to think about your verbs. You don't want to rely on verbs such as is or have. Like, you need active, strong verbs, especially in a topic sentence. You don't want to use the verb used. No. So each clause has to talk about reader understanding, and they're different, right? So we talk, the first chunk is more about like a shallow, or we called it a basic understanding. This second chunk, it's also about the reader's understanding, but this, I would think that it's about more of a in-depth understanding because you can imagine it, you can visualize it, you get clarification, you get background. That's more in-depth. But each clause will have to talk about reader and understanding because the thing here is that they have a different impact on the reader. And so you have to clarify what's the impact in the first chunk and what's the impact in the second chunk. Some of you are writing in passive voice. You really want to think about what should be the subject of your sentence. Oh, I think I forgot a word that you need because it's going to be hard. I'm sorry. You don't just need narrative and expository. You probably need blend. Because that is what this is. It's a blend of those. It's the blend that is actually impact. It's that you get both. Isn't writing fun and hard? Makes your mind want to explode? If you aren't trying to write the sentence, you're going to suffer the next time. Suffer when you try to do this on your own. You can't say chunk 1 and chunk 2. You cannot do that. So some of you are really wanting to use weak verbs. Like gives is a weak verb. Is, don't use it. Oh, passive voice. All right. You really can't, you cannot say chunk 1 and chunk 2. Who is going to understand besides me what you're talking about? That's not academic writing. I'm just telling you, you talk about, this is the chunk. I'm just telling you that. You do not use those words. No, doesn't happen. All right, we need to move on. Okay. All right. So you can't really talk about the author of a Wikipedia page because there are so many authors. So that won't really work. All right. So some of you want to, okay. A lot of you are wanting to start by talking about the tertiary source, but then then that's mixing you up because you also want to talk about the Wikipedia page at the same. You're struggling to figure out what to make the topic of the sentence. So, and if you put the reader's understanding as the subject of the sentence, you're going to write in passive voice. So like the subject of the sentence has to be doing the action. Right? That's active voice. Subject has to do action. If you put the reader's understanding as the reader's understanding isn't doing anything. They gain understanding. They are the passive sort of recipient of understanding, which means you can't put the reader's understanding as the subject of the sentence and still write an active voice. That won't work. So I think it's got to be, so what I would recommend here, okay, so you're wanting to talk about Wikipedia and the tertiary source kind of at the same time as the subject of the sentence. So what could work is to say something like as a tertiary source, and then say Wikipedia. And then you need what Wikipedia does. And what Wikipedia does as a tertiary source, we need a verb, but where we're headed, so you need to tell me what verb could potentially go here. What we're headed to is this objective overview. So verb, then objective overview. That's what we will be analyzing. And now we need to get to talking about reader understanding after that. But first, give me this verb. So what is Wikipedia doing? We need the verb. Wikipedia kind of, that would work, provides an objective overview. And then now we need to talk, so then we get rid of objective overview. We've done that. Now we need to talk about the reader's understanding. And we could say of the something, okay. We need probably another verb. And this one we said basic understanding. That's what we said we were going to talk about. So a basic understanding of child soldiers in Sierra Leone. Now, I just need to know what goes here. What verb would go there? It needs to end with ing, but what verb would work? It needs to be an academic verb ending in ing. Come on, give me one that would work. We need to be done with this. You're killing me. Sure, leading. All right. As a tertiary source, Wikipedia provides an objective overview leading the reader to a basic understanding of child soldiers in Sierra Leone. While now we talk about the other chunk, the other source, right? So the other source, that's a secondary source. So we could talk about it as a secondary source. That could potentially work. But it is also, the secondary source is also a blend. So we could make the blend the subject as well. So let's see what happens. So let's try that. Blend of, what are we blending? You can participate in chat, please. What are we blending? Tell me. The blend of expository. Okay. All right. Narrative style, sure. Well, the blend in the secondary source, that's where it is. I think it needs to, what does it do? So we're going to need a verb here. What does it do? Well, it does this. It also provides something. We could do that. We'll just repeat for now, but maybe presents, and that's maybe a little weird. Provides the reader with something. Provide the reader with what? Finish the sentence. What? Finish it. Has to do with understanding in some way. What kind of understanding is it? Up here, it's basic. What kind of understanding is it when you have that blend? The deeper, greater, that could work. Is basically doing what you need to do. I messed up my listing here. What is happening? There, that's how it's supposed to be. So that's a topic sentence. So that is capturing this structure that this is in the first chunk. We are going to talk about the tertiary source, that it's Wikipedia, that it provides an objective overview, and that leads to a basic understanding of the topic. And then in the second chunk, in contrast, we will be then discussing the blend of expository and narrative in the secondary source and how that leads the reader to this deeper understanding of the topic. That's basically what you need to try to do in each of these. So now you have this. So when I am talking about what is your homework, it's a topic sentence plus doing. So it's this and this for these paragraphs, making the revisions and adding these notes. So you're going to have after each of these, you're going to have a note, at least one, explaining what you were going to do in your commentary. So that is the task for you to work on. So you can work on the purpose paragraph with your partner. And this one has to be all done on your own. And like I've told you before, I would go back to this. I'm choice, but it doesn't seem like this will make for good discussion. And point of view, you have to do the memoir. Something your evidence should have very clear first person point of view. So first person pronouns plus the Bea's perspective very clearly. The third, I would do this one because you have a perspective. This one, you don't have a perspective. So this one needs to have third person point of view. So we should have the limited, sorry, not limited. It doesn't matter limited or omniscient, but just third person. And we should see some third person pronouns, and you should really be able to feel the journalist, their perspective. That's how I would do it. So it's noon, and we also did not get to talk about evidence for your purpose paragraph. So you're kind of on your own for that now. I do have office hours today at 12:30, from 12:30 to 1. But that is your work. Otherwise, over the weekend, you're supposed to be finishing, or you're working on that paragraph. Do you have questions? If you have a question, you can linger, but it is noon. So, bye. I hope you have a good weekend.